Hello, everyone, and welcome to 1000 Gurus with me, your host, J.R. Yono Cruz. So today's guest is theoneDNA, a Vietglish EDM singer and songwriter. He strives to use his music to promote self-expression, mental health, and empower the Vietnamese diaspora to recognize and embrace their heritage by incorporating bilingualism into his work. He is a board member of his nonprofit organization, the Vietnamese Creatives Collective. He is also the co-founder and lead vocalist of his band New Tradition, who received the opportunity to perform at Disney California Adventure for Lunar New Year and Downtown Disney for AANHPI Heritage Month, both earlier this year. So theoneDNA, or Dewey, known as theoneDNA on stage, is the first musical artist, singer, and songwriter on my show, so it was super exciting. Funny enough, all of my guests so far that I've met them through dancing. And he's no exception because we connected after I judged a talent show for OC's Tech Festival back in 2019, I believe. And obviously I was one of the dance judges, but there were other judges on the panel for singing, and I believe theoneDNA was in that show for singing, obviously. And this conversation in particular was a lot of fun. It was a good look into what it's like being an indie artist, at least in his genre. And we cover some insights that he's learned as an artist, his pivot to Vietglish EDM. We also have an insightful conversation about mental health, as it is something that most of us will face in our lifetimes. And overall, it's a great conversation that I really enjoyed, and I hope you will too. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with theoneDNA. theoneDNA, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, JR. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for, our live studio audience, definitely here. So yeah, thank you for being on the show. I think I'm rearranging the season. So you're guest number 1 on season 2. So
nice.
You have the revamped rapid fire questions. It'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, very excited.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. I really wanted you on the show because, like I mentioned in our pre-recording, I tried to get a lot of people in my first 2 seasons of, one, who I respected, 2, had really good accomplishments and unique careers and stories. And I feel like you epitomize that, at least from the people I know. And again, I consider you a friend, because it's going to be easier to get friends on my show and there's no proof of concept, right? So I'm like, all right, who do I know who I simultaneously like, respect, and are accomplished and who will be on my show? So I'm grateful that you accepted.
I am honored that you even thought of me. So Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll start off with how I know you.
Sure.
So I believe we connected after one of the tech festivals several years back, yes. Right? And then you invited my girlfriend and I to your live show in 2021 near the end of it, which was amazing. I'd heard you sing on stage before, but then hearing you sing live in this show that was just all about you was, my girlfriend and I were like, wow, he's a singer. Filipinos, we like singing and it's fun.
And y'all have standards.
Yeah, so yeah. And Blessie's actually trained. I just do it for fun. But then we're like listening to you, we're like, okay, we don't actually sing. He sings. So you're amazing. And then later on the next year, you invited us to your birthday for karaoke, which was a lot of fun. But again, you had your own music video. So we're like, damn, this guy's legit. And then we also went clubbing after that. And so it was a lot of fun. And since then, I've been following your career and you've been doing a lot of good stuff. And like I said, you're one of those people who I know personally who are like doing something that they're passionate about, do something that they enjoy. And I think a lot of people, we need to see people like that. Right? Because it's easy to just get into, okay, well, society tells me this and I should do this. But when you see someone like you going after something that they want, I feel like it's very inspiring. So that's how I see you. And you've been doing a lot of stuff. And I think you launched a new album recently. Am I mistaken?
You are not mistaken.
Okay,
you are
cool.
Correct.
Nice.
Wow, what an introduction.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to follow up with that. No, but seriously, to answer that little, or segue rather, into the first point of discussion. Yes, I just released my debut Vietglish EDM EP on all streaming platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Pandora, wherever you stream your music, it's on there. And yeah, it's been about a month now. And honestly, the reception that I've been getting and still been receiving has been phenomenally positive. I'm super grateful for all the love and support that I've been getting. And I just feel very blessed to be doing what I do. So yeah, thank you.
I love that. Anything else that I left out of? Well, that's mostly just our journey. Before this, I would have already read your bio. Any other clarifications or things that you're up to that you want to throw in before we start?
Yeah, sure. Just like upcoming things going on in my life.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I don't know if I should reveal so soon.
Oh yeah, you don't have to. We can save it for later.
Okay, we'll save it for later.
Cool. Nice. All right, so let's just start off. I want to go into first like your journey as an indie artist, but maybe just for some context for the listeners who maybe don't know who you are, like Could you give us like a little bit about your background, like where you grew up, and
Sure.
what was that like? And then eventually, how did you get into singing and wanting to pursue this as like your thing?
Yeah. I was actually born in Australia, minus the accent. I might. No,
Nice.
sorry, that was so bad. Never again. No, but I was born in Australia, and my family and I moved here. I have two younger brothers. We moved halfway across the world to California, the American dream, about 15 years ago. So I was like barely a sophomore in high school. And one of the main reasons why my family and I we made the executive decision to move to the US is my parents, they wanted to support my music career. Growing up, I was always immersed and very involved with music and entertainment. And I'm pretty sure I brought this up to you when we first started talking, but to the viewers here watching 1000 Gurus, I started singing for as long as I could remember, probably when I was like 5 or 6. And I knew I wanted to pursue it professionally when I was 10. And I've been holding on to that dream ever since. And yeah, definitely a lot of experiences, definitely many challenges, many blessings, and all of those things I wouldn't trade for anything else. And yeah, and also my parents, I guess they felt like stagnant where they were in Australia with their work and everything. My parents, they took the leap of faith. They took a major risk, mind you, and we all packed our bags and moved here. And as for me personally, I've just been like grinding and hustling, chasing my aspiration of being an artist. Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty cool that your parents were very supportive of your like singing career. Were there any specific influences? So you said you knew you wanted to be a singer at like
Mhm.
10.
Mhm.
Were there any other like influences that kind of you felt like guided you towards that direction, or was it just like, yeah, regardless, I'm gonna be singing?
I'm glad you brought this question up because truthfully, back in the day, there wasn't much AAPI representation. So to be honest, like there weren't many people, within my age group at the time that I could look up to. Now it's a totally different story, which is great.
Yeah.
Like AAPI representation is everywhere and we love that. But I guess from the top of my head, like seeing young prodigies like Justin Bieber, for example, and people within his, I don't know how to word it, but you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, just seeing artists like him really take form, it really inspired me. And I'm like, you know what? If someone like him can do it, then maybe I could do it too.
Mm.
And yeah, growing up, I knew I've always wanted to do this and just keep your eyes on the prize. And I knew that I wanted to do something related to music. And for me, I always love being on stage. I always love to perform. I love interacting with the crowd. It just really makes me feel whole and safe. And yes, I've been doing it all my life. And I really can't picture a day where I live without it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
I can see that. If you ever watch him on stage or any of the videos, you can tell that that's where he's meant to be. Like
I feel like that's like my element.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a fish in water, right? It feels natural there. Did you ever, and maybe you don't have an answer to this, or maybe there wasn't ever one, but did you ever feel like there was an alternate career path that you might have gone or pursued your passion?
I don't think so.
Mm.
Like maybe in the back of my head, like I had like a semi plan A.1,
Mhm.
but then what I've learned is that, and this might be a toxic mindset, who knows, and maybe I'm like unconsciously trying to like unwire based on what society has taught us. But if you have a backup plan, that means that you don't believe in your primary plan enough.
Mm.
And I guess that kind of stuck. And especially me being so involved in music at such a young age, mind you, that's all I ever really thought about. Like for me, my life had to be around music, no matter what. And, knowing that my parents and my entire family moved halfway across the world, you know, in many ways, I want to make them proud too, because it was such a big move. Even, many of my family members at the time doubted us. And I didn't know that until like much later in life when my mom and I had a heart-to-heart conversation. So it was very interesting to see familiar support and how that's grown and shifted over the years. But yeah, it's all been such an interesting journey, very fulfilling, very gratifying, tiring at times. But again, I can't really see myself doing anything else other than music, to be honest with you.
Nice.
Yeah.
2 questions. So you
Mhm.
said you had 2 younger brothers.
Mhm. I
How did
do.
they feel about moving at the time?
I think they're like, ugh, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. And plus, they're really young
Uh-huh.
too. But they're chilling now.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we're here now.
My youngest brother, he's studying art. About to transfer to Cal State Fullerton. He's still talented, by the way.
Mm.
And the middle child, He studies kinesiology at Cal State
Oh,
Fullerton.
nice.
Yeah, nothing to do with the art.
Cool. I guess on the topic of that, oh, sorry, one more thing on music is, what were some of your musical influences? I'm just curious.
Mariah Carey.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I've seen her 8 times and counting.
Oh, so you're a fan then?
That would be an understatement. Yes. No. In terms of like vocal influences,
Right,
definitely Mariah Carey. You can hear like the inflections. Mariah Carey, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, Bruno Mars, Michael Jackson, like those powerhouse singers. But actually, interestingly enough, I was first exposed to Viet music long before Western music. So I had my Vietnamese vocal influences growing up. So yeah, let's just say that it became a huge melting pot for me. And because I was so immersed with both the Vietnamese and the Western music elements at such a young age, it's also it also plays an influence towards my EDM EP that I just released about a month ago. And I wrote all my songs. I write all my songs. But for this specific album, I wanted to pay homage, a tribute to Vietnamese culture and my heritage. So I really do take pride because I'm really not like the best, not the most fluent in terms of Vietnamese, but I really do try. But I do take pride knowing that I wrote all those songs in Vietnamese and English pretty much all on my own. I would only use Google Translate to confirm like 1 or 2 lines, but pretty much I wrote it all on my own.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of it.
Maybe we'll get into this later, but this dude can sing in multiple languages. You know some like Tagalog songs, right?
Oh my gosh. Filipino culture, Filipino music, Filipino food. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah. This dude is a very, what's it called? In a lot of different cultures and gets like learns about them, gets inspired by them and appreciates them. So I think that's a really good thing to do, especially as a singer. Like, you can't just stick to one thing. If you need to grow as an artist, right? Like being exposed to a lot of different things.
Right. You can't be in a box.
Exactly. You can't be in a box. So maybe this is like a bigger question, but I'm curious if you had any answers. Like,
Sure.
what are some of the challenges of being an indie artist? And then do you have any advice for people who have aspirations to sing professionally in a similar sense?
Sure. Well, one of the biggest challenges right off the bat, finance. Unless you have all the money in the world, it is hard to stay on track. And you also have bills to pay too. And being indie artists, especially like during your formative years, however you want to put that, things can feel uncertain at times. And this leads me to the next part of that question. What has honestly kept me grounded and stayed afloat and pretty much prevented me from throwing in the white towel and saying, nope, I can't, like, I give up, is knowing that deep inside, intrinsically, that music defines me. Music is what I want to do. It's the passion and that burning desire that I have towards music is what's been keeping me going all these years. Otherwise, I would have given up like years ago. Yeah. And again, I want to make my parents proud and I want to, inspire like other people who are like me or even not like me. Like anyone has a dream and aspiration they want to pursue and chase, go for it. You only live once, right? And the only person that's really stopping you is yourself.
Of course.
And easier said than done because the inner thoughts in my head that I get sometimes, it can be pretty loud, like the doubts that I have in my head. But again, just knowing the love that I have for music can really trump and overpower all those negativity, all that negativity.
Yeah, definitely. Any specific advice you'd like to give to people who want to pursue singing? So you said finances, obviously. So I don't know if you had any advice on how to overcome that or even the doubts in your head.
Sure.
You said essentially, I want to do this. It's my passion.
There is no shame in having a day job to stay afloat.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I know over the years, like, after, watching like podcasts and interviews, like sometimes there's that toxic culture, like, oh, you got to grind, and which is all great, but like living paycheck to paycheck, like living off of like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I'm like, that's no way to live. And for me, like food fuels you. And if you don't have that fuel, how can you get creative? How can you get inspired?
How can you do your best work?
Exactly. Like I get it. It's inspiring. It's admiring and all that stuff. But is it practical? No. If you have the ability to, and if you have the means to, go get a day job. You need to stay afloat. You have responsibilities. You have bills to pay. And if you have a family, you have a family to feed. Right? For me, I do have a day job. I currently work with people with developmental disabilities. And I love it so much. I honestly don't even consider it a job because I love being out there in the community. It's keeping me afloat. It's helping me pay rent on top of my performances. So yeah, so that would be my advice. There's no shame in holding a day job to keep you afloat while simultaneously hustling behind the scenes with your career path. And honestly, just to really develop a strong psyche, especially in this industry, having optimal mental health is so important. There are so many barriers, so many challenges that could break you in this industry. It's really tough. And you being a dancer yourself, being in the entertainment industry, I'm sure you can understand and relate to some degree. Always optimize and prioritize your mental health, no matter what it takes. Yeah.
Nice. That is the real. Okay.
Exactly. That's the tea.
Thank you. All right. So pivot, but not really. So you mentioned in the notes when I asked about topics that you made a pivot towards EDM,
Yes.
and then also adding Vietnamese elements into your work. And I think you touched upon that a little bit. There's that. And then also you formed a band, New Tradition. And then also a little bit later on, your nonprofit Vietnamese Creatives Collective. So what were some of the factors in the decision to do all of those things? We can tackle it one at a time if you want. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So let's start with New Tradition. So actually, it was like a happy accident. That band wasn't supposed to happen in terms of being a long-term gig. What happened there was probably last December. Everything just feels like one giant day clumped together. I lost track of time. I think it was last December. A friend of mine who's a talented musician, his name's EJ. Shout out to EJ if you're watching this. He and we wanted to do a show together. Actually, I hit him up. I was like driving home and I had an idea. I was like, I want to do a show again. And I hit EJ up. And I was like, hey, would you be down to do something together? Co-headline a show? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm down. And then I'm like, okay, how about we try to form a band? And then with like my music connect and his music connects, we banded together and we picked out who we felt would be best suitable for this show. And thinking it'll be just like a one-time thing. Oh, we get together, we practice, we perform, and then remain friends, and that's it. One-time done deal. But I'm telling you, and this is something that I tell the guys constantly, the people in the band. There's 7 of us. After the second rehearsal, I remember just sitting there to myself thinking, what am I thinking? This has to be a permanent thing. I can't just let these guys go. They are so talented. And knowing what they're capable of, I'm like, I got to talk to these guys. And then after a few rehearsals, we had a conversation. I'm like, okay, where are our heads here? Do you see ourselves being like a one-time thing? Do the May show, get over and done with, because the show happened in May? Or write it out and see how it goes, see how far it goes. And I guess all of them unanimously decided, yeah, we all vibe. We all create great music together. Let's do this thing. And so glad that we did that because we were able to land such amazing opportunities. We had DCA. We performed at Disney California Adventure for Lunar New Year. And then later, it was actually this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this February,
yeah.
this February, we did Lunar New Year at Disney California Adventure. And then several months later for AANHPI Heritage Month, we did Downtown Disney. I'm glad we weren't a one-time thing.
Yeah. So what do you think makes what's like the secret sauce to like making a good band? I know this is like one instance, but you said that they were very talented. You said you guys had like good chemistry or vibes. Do you think there's anything else that like made it stand out that, okay, we should definitely do this as a longer term thing?
I think just seeing like the desire and just being around like-minded people, just being in that room, just being in one room with that energy like emanating from like wall to wall. It's a feeling that you can't really describe. You just have to be in there to experience it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then also communication. Because there's so many of us, there's 7 heads, 7 minds like gearing, wiring, whatever. Obviously, there's going to be times where you'll bump into challenges, creative differences, personal challenges. And if you don't bring up these issues, it'll catastrophize into something that could have been prevented. So communication, just in anything really, is key. So yeah.
Perfect. Do you have maybe this is an apples and oranges thing, right? But as a solo artist or as in a group, do you have a preference for one or the other? I'm sure you get different things from different things, but Good
question. Yeah. Actually, transparently, I wouldn't call it an issue, but it was definitely something that we had to bring up like pretty early on because unconsciously it happened. But after having that conversation, again, communication is so important. We've ultimately decided, okay, we're going to compartmentalize. The OneDNA will be the OneDNA, and New Tradition will be its own identity. And so far, it's been working out pretty well, to be honest with you. Yeah. Again, communication.
Nice.
Very important.
Separate entities, and then for you, they both work out, but then you enjoy both in different ways.
Yeah, they work out so well, actually. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, anything else? Do you want to go to either the Vietnamese Creatives Collective or your pivot to EDM? And
you're the host.
Yeah.
You can transition to whoever. I'll follow.
In case you had one that you wanted to talk about first. Okay, so what about your pivot? So you mentioned that was like pivotal to you, or one of the defining things of where you're headed towards now. So what was the reason behind that sort of direction change?
EDM music?
Yeah, EDM music.
So that actually was not part of my plan at all. Like for real.
What, things didn't go according to plan? I'm kidding.
That's just the beauty of life,
Yeah,
though, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Of course.
keeps you on your toes. No, but seriously, I will say though, up until recently, like 2 years ago, 3 years even, I was more or less closed-minded with the EDM scene, just because like at the time, like my way of thinking, I would always associate EDM with like toxic culture and all that stuff. But then my ex-boyfriend, a couple years ago, we were up in San Francisco. He lives up in the Bay Area. He took me to like my first ever music festival, and there were a bunch of DJs who played that night.
Remember what it was called?
I forget.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Like, I don't know. That was too far.
Yeah. But I remember just like standing there. Dylan Matthew performed that night. And he sang like his like smash hit, Love Is Gone. And I'm just standing there. I'm like, oh my God. Like, where have I been all this time? I feel like I've been living under a rock. I just felt so inspired just like by everything and everyone around me. And I kid you not, JR, shortly after when I came back, I remember just sitting in my room. I had an epiphany. I was like, I want to try this out. And then coincidentally, simultaneously, I was also trying to figure out ways, like a creative way to really pay homage to Vietnamese culture, Vietnamese heritage. So then I'm like, okay, EDM music, like it's always in, like, especially like within our generation. How about I merge those elements alongside the Vietnamese elements and see where this thing, see where this thing goes. And I'm telling you, I was a little like skeptical, like stepping into it at first because I didn't know what to expect. And again, like me being in the EDM scene was the last thing in my mind, to be honest with you. But it ironically became one of the most organic transitions that I've had in my entire career.
Wow.
And I'm so glad I made that call. So shout outs to my ex-boyfriend for inspiring me.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've been doing EDM music for about 2 years now. And along the way, I have met and worked with such amazing collaborators, amazing artists, musicians. And I've just been enjoying the ride, really being so involved in the process from start to finish. And yeah, I'm so looking forward to see where all this takes me and the people that I work with. Yeah, so currently, right now, my EDM EP is out. It's called Beautiful, 7 tracks. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like, how does one transition into how would you categorize your genre before this switch? Is it
Like pop,
like okay.
pop, R&B,
Yeah.
but mainly pop.
Gotcha.
Which I guess it explains why like the transition wasn't too drastic. Just because the EDM that I do is very melodic, it's very simpy. So in terms of like melody and like musically, I don't think it was that drastic of a change.
Okay.
But like the genre itself,
Right.
Yeah, I guess like there are certain nuances. But yeah,
That makes sense.
I would identify myself as a pop artist, but even to this day, pop EDM.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not too far off.
No, I don't think so.
So as a non-music person, what is that transition like in a technical or in a terms of you're creating the music, right? You're like producing the music, you're writing the songs or recording it. Like, how is that transition from when you were just doing pop into EDM and like the Vietnamese elements to it? Is it, I don't know, is it hard to figure out the music or do you have to work with different people?
My process has remained the same.
Mhm.
Usually, oftentimes people would ask me, what's my songwriting process like? It just really depends on the mood or the situation. But typically, I would come up with the lyrics first. Like whatever is on my mind, whether it be like a happy thought or a not so positive thought. I would
Happy or not happy?
Yeah, exactly. I would write it down.
Yeah.
Anything that I'm feeling, like I'll just dump into a doc. And then from there, I would go to my keyboard and I would start doodling chords and come up with a top line. And then from there, once I have some kind of structure, like a skeleton is what I'd call it. Once I have some kind of foundation established, from there, I go find a producer, someone that I want to work with. I'll pitch the idea and send them the skeleton, like a rough vocal and piano track. And I'm like, here's the chord progression, here's the top line, here are the lyrics. I just need you to like zhuzh it up a little bit. Like basically put the track on steroids and add your flair. And that's pretty much my process, how I've been doing it for the past several years. And I think it's been working out pretty seamlessly. Yeah. And it's been great being able to work with a lot of people
Right.
Yeah.
I imagine it like opens up an avenue of like different people you can collaborate with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Are the like audiences that you perform for, the people who listen to your music, is it much different from what you were doing before, or is it mostly the same? Or
Pretty similar. And also depends on like the type of event that I'm doing.
Right.
If I want to make sure that whatever event that I'm performing for or at, I want to make sure that I'm catering to them in the way that best represents the situation. Like, for example, like if I were to perform at a Vietnamese show, then I need to tailor in a way where it would best appeal to them. So I would sing more Vietnamese songs. Or if I'm singing to an older crowd, then maybe I can throw in a couple songs from the 80s or the 90s, like songs that they can like vibe to and reminisce and just have a good time. Also, obviously, I'll throw in some like new tracks and stuff. So it just really depends. And then as for like a non-Vietnamese crowd, for example, like people within our generation, like our demographic, then obviously I'd throw in more current stuff and like my own material, for example. It just really depends. Yeah. Nothing is out of reach.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about let's go to Vietnamese Creatives Collective. So what's the vision for that, and what are you up to with that? What is the plan? And
yeah, absolutely.
What is it all about?
So we've been around for about 2 years now. So my high school friend, her name's Kate, she actually reached out to me a couple years ago. She was like, hey, I've been having this idea and I want to bring it up to you about it. From one fellow creative to another. I'm like, yeah, sure. What's up? And then she was like, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Obviously, AANHPI representation, we're seeing a lot of progress, some positive strides. Obviously, there's so much more work left to be done. But compared to where we were, like just a few years back, like we've come like quite a long way. I'm really happy to see like where this trajectory is taking us. All that's great. But we both recognize that there's still a lack of Vietnamese representation in mainstream media. And we want to change that. And there's not many Vietnamese creative nonprofit organizations that really emphasize on that. A few. Like, I don't want to like diminish them or discredit. Like the organizations that we have come across and worked with, all of them have done like groundbreaking work. So shout out to them. But yeah, so Kate was like, you know what? I want to make a difference. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. I'm honored that you even thought of me. We gathered a few of our other creative friends and creative contacts, and we established a board, and we have since become Vietnamese Creatives Collective. And when people ask us who we are, our mission is to provide an uplifting space for AANHPI creatives, emphasis on Vietnamese creatives, a platform to hone in and nurture their craft and to connect with like-minded people, and also to use their creative medium, whether it be like visual arts, music, storytelling, as a way to bring back and pay their respects to Vietnamese culture. Yeah,
I like that. So what is it that, again, as an outsider, like what is the...
Everyone is welcome, by the way.
Yeah. So let's say I'm a Vietnamese creative artist, right? What does your group do for me? Is it like a community for me to help nurture my talents and to help me get out there or give guidance? Or what is the... I don't know.
Yeah. Rather, throughout the year, we would host community events, free resources, mind you. Like we try to make it accessible like to everyone. Throughout the year, we would host events. Just like early this year in August, we did a music networking and community event. We had an incredible lineup of amazingly talented Vietnamese American artists, indie artists, to come and speak to the people who attended. And then our moderator was someone from TikTok, who's also Vietnamese American. It was just very insightful experience, just being around like-minded people who are like so deeply active and involved in the industry. And yes, if you are an artist trying to break into the industry, or you want to learn more, or you want to connect with more people, that was a great opportunity for people to do all those things. And then last year, we also did something called Real Voices. So we would emphasize more on the film industry. So there's something for everybody in the creative world. And actually, we're gearing up to put together our annual fundraiser, which we're projecting to be in March of next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. It sounds like a space to connect and uplift those artists and creatives in different spaces and allow them to be seen. And you're not alone.
And to provide opportunities, to help provide opportunities.
Yeah, of course. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick pivot back to yourself. 2 things. I don't know if we'll hit on this completely. Maybe we'll have a part 2 someday. But as the theoneDNA, what do you think makes you stand out as an artist, like compared to all the other artists out there? Again, not diminishing anyone else, but just like what makes you you? If you could put that into perspective. And then two, what is like the long-term vision for yourself, like in your career, let's say 5-10 years down the line? If you could paint that roadmap, what would that look like?
In the US, at least, I think what sets me apart from other people is me writing my songs in Vietnamese and English, and me really embracing my identity as a Vietglish EDM artist. I feel, again, here in the US at least, I don't really see many people who are doing what I do. I would love to, honestly, like I would love to see more people take whatever it is that I'm doing and make it their own. And then vice versa. We're constantly learning and evolving from each other. That's the beauty of art, right? We're always learning. Yeah, I think that's definitely one thing that sets me apart. Actually, fun fact, I don't know when yet, but the goal eventually is for me to live in Vietnam for a bit and check out the music industry there.
Oh,
Yeah. So
have you been to Vietnam?
like 5th grade?
Oh, fifth grade. Okay.
That
So
doesn't
it's
really
been a while.
count.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it'll be like my first time back whenever that happens as an adult.
Mm,
Yeah.
nice.
Mhm.
Anything else for like long-term vision for you as an artist? If you could, a princess dream sort of thing. If I could make this happen in 10 years, like this is where I would like to be.
I think just to continue using my voice as a platform for something much larger and greater than music. It goes beyond the love that I have for music. Not only I want to like inspire and empower and elevate all those things, I want it to be a safe space. And one of the main themes that I talk about on my EP is mental health. Mental health is something that I prioritize constantly, and we need to continue talking about it. We need to continue having these conversations. And so I hope that the message that I develop through my music, I hope that it becomes a safe space for people, so that it reassures them that yes, life can be tough. Adversities, obviously you can't really avoid them, but just know that everything will be okay. Yeah, no matter what, as long as you're in the right headspace, as long as you're surrounded by positive people, positive influences, then you'll be okay. And pain is only temporary. So
Nice. I
yeah.
love it. All right, perfect segue now. So the last topic I want to talk about, mental health and then your own personal journey. So I saw on an IG post recently that you made that I'm just going to read like what I was typing out. So like in 2014, you said you came out to your parents at 17, which was a big.
I made that post yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thanks for reading.
Yeah, of course. Good job. Okay.
Just doom scroll.
You just doing I stalk people's LinkedIn, their Instagram, stuff like that. But so yeah, you said it was like, I imagine it's a big challenge for you.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned that they've come a long way since then, your parents. And so I guess my question, I know a lot of people can probably relate to like your journey since then. My question for you is, what was that experience like? And what perspective would you give yourself 10 years later, like yourself now, to your younger self?
Can you repeat that question? one
Yeah,
more
of
time?
course. So then since then, right? Like what was that experience like going through that? Because I'm sure like maybe some people want to hear like what your experience was like.
Mhm.
And then also what perspective would you give yourself
Mm.
from your current self to your past self?
I see. Well, I will say 28, 29-year-old me now would be proud of the 18-year-old Dewey then. Because the amount of courage and determination and guts that it took for me to like really proclaim and live my truth and say it out loud to like my family, to my nuclear circle, it took a lot out of me. And I remember that day well as if it were yesterday, hence the fact that I have crappy memory. Selective memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things because oftentimes people would ask, "Oh, like, how do you know when to come out?" I'm like, you just don't. Like sometimes you just do it like when it comes naturally to you. Like you don't even have to schedule it or time it, whatever. Let it happen as it approaches. With my journey, it happened on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2014. So a little over 10 years ago. I remember feeling incredibly distraught that day. Then my dad, like, he stepped into my room and then he took me to my parents' room, and then they were like, not knowing what was about to unfold. I remember my dad, he was like, "Oh, anything that's troubling you, anything that's bothering you, you can talk to us. Like, this is a safe space. We're here for you." And man, I'm like, brace yourself. So I was like, okay, mom, dad. And I went on a mini tangent, which then led me to say, I'm gay. I'm attracted to men. And it got dead silent for a good 20 seconds. It was it was pretty awkward. And then that quickly segued into anger. And then
Your end or on their end?
on their end.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and I was raised Catholic. And so they brought up like the Bible and all those things. And they're like, "Oh, like you're a sinner. This is wrong. Like this is all wrong. This can't be. You can't be." Yeah, so it just became so tense in that room. And honestly, everything just happened so fast. Yeah, at that point, I was just running on autopilot. And that day was over. And then from that point on until the moment I ran away from home, honestly, the environment was hostile. But then at the same time, they kept trying to sweep under the rug as if the conversation never happened, which never does any good for anybody, right? But it's reached a point where I'm like, I feel suffocated in this house. I don't feel safe anymore, especially having that conversation. So I ran away from home, and then I spent a few days at my then boyfriend's parents' house at the time. And then after the 5th day, came back, and at that point, my parents and I, we began focusing on reconciliation and repairing. And then during that moment, my parents would ask me questions like, oh, so when did you know? Are you sure it's not a phase? And I had to like plant seeds. I had to like reassure them that, hey, I've always known since I was like 5 or 6. And what confirmed it was when I saw Titanic, the car scene, I was looking at Leonardo and not Kate. And I was like 7 at the time. And they just kept pestering me with these questions. But I guess I just wanted to like figure things out. Because it's also coming out process for them too, not just for me, right? So it definitely took some time, but I was persistent. Any opportunity that I had to like plant seeds, to have that conversation with them, no matter how uncomfortable and unsettling it was for both ends, I did it because I knew that I had to do whatever it took to really advocate for myself. At this point, it's now or never. I already ripped it off like a Band-Aid, right? There's no turning back from here. And so over time, they came around. I'm very, very blessed and fortunate to say that my parents, they support me now, and they support me and my identity and my career. They've always supported my career. I'm privileged in that sense. Yeah, but it wasn't easy. You got to put in the work.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific that maybe you've learned since then, or like you said, more perspective for yourself or for other people out there in a similar situation that maybe you wish you would have known or could just give yourself advice?
It's a loaded question. Okay, I like it. I think it all comes down to one thing: to not be afraid to speak your truth. And even like to today, I still struggle with it from time to time, but I am getting better at it now because, one, I'm aware. Having self-awareness is so important. I do actively try to find proactive, healthy ways to navigate through these experiences. But yeah, I would tell my past self, yeah, don't be afraid to speak your truth because you really only live once. And being someone who is pretty much anxiety ridden, there have been many occasions like where I would miss out on certain opportunities because my anxiety would get in the way. And again, coming out is such a huge, monumental moment. It was obviously very nerve-wracking. But again, I am proud of myself looking back that I took that chance. I took the risk. I knew what the outcome would be, at least during that point in time. So I'm glad that I just trusted my gut and I went for it. But my advice, like to other people who are going through something similar, if they're struggling to gain that acceptance and support from their nuclear family, so like their parents, siblings, even extended family members, just know that you have so much support around you. Even though it may seem like dark and lonesome and alienating at times, because you always want to get support from your nuclear family first, right? Of course. Know that you have such a large community who will be there to guide you and help navigate you through all these experiences if you allow them to do it. Yeah, so that's what I would advise people.
I love that. And on top of that too, I found in my own experience with some of my own struggles, I'm also blessed to have my family that support me, but also you will find people, found family, friends, close friends, whatnot, people who actually care about you. They're there to support you too. You will find them, or they're already there, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can consider like my closest friends like today as my own family members too. I feel very fortunate to have them in my life, through the ups and downs, through the accomplishments, through the trials and tribulations. They experienced it all, and I wouldn't be where I'd be without them. Honestly, thanks.
Love it. On mental health, I wanted to ask if you, I don't know if this is the right way to word it, right? But if you could walk us through your mental health journey. I know you've had your own struggles, we all have, but what were some of the biggest realizations or perspectives that you've gained throughout the years?
Well, therapy is very, very, very important. I can't stress that enough, honestly. And even if you feel like you're mentally stable, or if you feel like you're in a
good place.
Exactly. Even if you feel like you're in a good headspace, you can honestly benefit from therapy. If you feel like you're physically healthy, you should still get your physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because who knows what happens if they discover something that you never thought you had. Right. So again, same thing applies to mental health. You want to make sure that you have these check-ins with yourself to make sure that you are doing okay. And who knows? And through this journey, through this process, maybe you'll help unlock certain things about yourself that you've never discovered before in the past. It's honestly such an enlightening and more times than not, liberating experience. Yeah. If you have the means and the access to it, I strongly optimize therapy. Therapy has helped me in so many ways. I've been in and out of therapy because life and all that stuff. But I will say, just having that professional guidance, it really made things less difficult for me. And I'm just fortunate that I have access to those mental health services. So, yeah.
Are there any particular things that maybe you've learned through your journey in therapy and mental health that you feel like benefited you? Like any things come to mind that you'd like to share?
So not be so hard on yourself, and especially being an artist, you are your own worst critic. And I guess that just applies like to anywhere in life, really, not just music. But yeah, like I am super hard on myself. Like after a performance, I'm always like nitpicking like every single note. And like growing up, I've always had that people pleasing mentality, because how I see it, like when you're an artist, you're a performer, you want to make sure you give people what they want. You want to make sure that you appease them, right? So over time, I guess that unconsciously made me develop that people pleasing mentality. But not so much anymore. Thank goodness. We grew out of that and we've learned from it. Yes, I've lost my train of thought.
On that, we've covered a little bit of this already, but my last final question is one piece of advice you'd give to others who may be having their own mental health struggles. I know, obviously, you mentioned therapy. You mentioned giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Anything else any advice that you would like to give people who are maybe struggling in that? Maybe they don't have access to like therapy or something like that, but in that case, anything you'd like to say?
Right. I'm also very well aware that certain areas, like certain people, certain communities might not have the best access to mental health services, which we should change. I feel like an individual person is just as entitled to have access to the same resources, right? We're all human. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not the reality that we live in at the moment. So on that note, even if you don't have access to therapy, there's still many avenues you can go about it. Go out to your community. Go to your local wellness center. They provide free resources. Go to your friend even just talking about it openly with a trustworthy friend sometimes can be the right remedy for you. Because the more you bottle your emotions, what's that going to do? It's just going to make you feel worse, right? You're just going to continue spiraling. So even as long as you have that one friend to confide in and to share your like feelings and your woes with, it can really make all the difference. So in the meantime, if you don't have access to therapy at the moment, find someone you can talk to so that you don't feel alone.
I love it. Mm-hmm. All right. Any last thoughts on that topic before we go to rapid fire questions? Or any other topic that we might have missed? We'll also have another check-in point at the very end.
Yeah.
Any other
I think for now, I have nothing on top of my head.
Perfect.
But I'll let you know if I remember.
It's all good. Yeah. All right. First rapid fire question. It's the billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
I can't think off the top of my head, but I guess something along the lines of your fave Vietglish EDM artist is, and then blank. I don't know. Kind of fill in the blank for me. Yeah, but something along the lines like Vietglish EDM artist. I feel like those are like strong keywords. Because, when you look at a billboard, you got to have certain things that like draws people's attention. And, like Vietglish, that sparks curiosity. EDM, okay, that's cool. All right. Like, we'll work with that.
Okay. Yeah. So it'd be like with you on it, like directed to you? Is it like a self-plug?
I guess so.
Or is it just a big sign that says your favorite EDM Vietglish artist, and they're like, wait, what does that mean?
I guess my face would be on that billboard.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. We're all good with self-plugs.
Yeah, maybe like something in there, maybe a splash of something that acknowledges my heritage, my culture, whatever that might be. Maybe it might be me like wearing an Aoyai or something like that. Who knows? Yeah, but definitely something where I can really pay my respects to my cultural identity.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life, and what did you learn from it? We might have covered it already, but if you had anything else.
Coming out would be one of them. And honestly, just navigating through this music industry. It's an ongoing thing. But I try to keep myself grounded. I try to be around positive, uplifting, like-minded people. And again, it's been helping me. Again, going back to the other question, whenever you go through challenges in your life, talk to someone. And easier said than done. I'm guilty of being that person. Oftentimes people be like, talk to me. And I'm like, yeah, I will, but I don't because I don't want to burden them. But seriously, like word of advice, don't be afraid to speak up, whether it be like a close friend or even a family member. Yeah.
I like that.
And communication,
Yeah.
very important. So they know how to help you.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's just one quote tangentially related, but it was about trust. Similar to that though, but it was trust isn't built in offering of help, it's in asking for help. And even from yourself, yeah, you need to ask for help and rely on other people. That's the best thing you can do. But at the same time, strengthening your relationships and building trust is also in asking for help. And some of us don't think that way. I didn't think that way before because I'm like, oh, let me just offer help to people and then we'll build our relationship. But no, also asking for help is the one that like really builds that relationship and the trust.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people, like myself included, there's a lot of pride. Oh, I don't want to ask for help. I can handle things all on my own. But in a way, that's like a destructive like way of thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Makes sense. All right. This is called the self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story or anything that's about something that went wrong in your life that's your own fault and then you can't blame anyone else because you did it to yourself?
Oh, that it's my own fault?
It's your own fault. It's a self-inflicted wound. You may not have one, but just in case you do.
I guess on the top of my head, sometimes... Oh, okay. Got it. I think there was like a specific performance where I wasn't vocally the best. And obviously you can't really redo it because what happened has happened. And there's really no one to blame but myself. I can't blame the sound engineer. I can't blame the speakers. I can't blame the environment but myself. And just because I knew I hadn't properly prepared my voice up well enough that day. And you got to be very disciplined because your voice is an instrument. You got to take care of it, right? It's a muscle. And I love eating spicy food. And especially before performance, you should avoid eating spicy food at all costs because it inflames your vocal cords. That alongside dairy because it produces mucus and phlegm and it restricts your vocal cords. I love spicy food. And so sometimes I'd let that get the best of me and I cave in anyway, but I regret it later. It's all about having self-control. And there's a time and place for everything. I guess that would be an example. I allowed for that moment to happen. Had I been more disciplined about it, then I probably would have performed better that night. Yeah.
Nice. I like it. If you could redo one thing, what would you do differently?
Anything, right? Along the way, being on this earth for about 28, 29 years, I've definitely lost touch with a couple people, disconnected myself from people, maybe burned a few bridges or two unintentionally. I think now that I'm older and I want to say I've grown a little bit wiser, I feel like if I were to go back, maybe I would have approached things differently. Maybe I would have addressed things in a more proactive way. And then maybe the outcome would have been different. Honestly, there are like times in my life where I would sit and reflect and be like, damn, I can't believe I don't talk to this person anymore. And some of these people, like we had a mini fallout. And sometimes I would ask myself a bunch of what if questions. So had I done this, had I done that? Would the outcome be the same? But I also try to live my life not having regrets because that's no way to
live.
Yeah,
not looking back all the time.
Yeah, but it's definitely a good life learning experiences. We call them growing pains.
I think even for myself too, I think some of my biggest regrets are always how I treated people. And of course, you think about that and it haunts you. And I think
and it's unintentional to you. Like you're not actively like going out there and trying to make people feel bad. Yeah.
Because it's like we're young, we're stupid, and we just don't make the best decisions as humans do. But then it's like that stuff will always haunt you.
Yeah.
But we can't spend our time looking back, of course. But at the same time, people say I don't live with regrets, and I get the sentiment behind that, and that's great. But if my new perspective now is you should be aware of what you regret because that's how you learn and grow. If you just dismiss it, wipe it under the rug, how are you growing?
Right.
And for me, I not wear it as a badge of honor, but like I'm aware of what I regret because I know it keeps me accountable to always do better and never make those same mistakes again. So I don't burden myself with the regret, but I know that it's there and I will keep acknowledging it. Like I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't exist.
Right.
So I think that's very important.
Wow. TED Talk.
This whole thing's a TED Talk, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now? We might have covered it already, but in case you had anything else.
Just to be more gentle on myself. And even to this day, like I'm still pretty hard on myself. But I guess that kind of keeps me grounded, keeps me on my toes. Because I know that I'm constantly striving for better. I'm always trying to find ways to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday. But I guess just to be more compassionate, just to be kind on the soul, and just to deliver that same energy to those that I love and care for.
Yeah, of course. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
Repeat that question again.
Yeah. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
Well, this is a work in progress. Eating habits, sleeping habits, exercise, they all go hand in hand. Again, to have an optimal mindset, to have good mental health, you need to encompass all those things, right? You need to eat well, sleep well, exercise regularly. We're tackling it one day at a time. So that's definitely something that I feel gradually has been helping me really maintain that mental health. Yeah.
Right.
Some days are better than others, but again, just knowing that I'm aware of it.
Yeah. And it's priority for you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And holding yourself accountable. Right? I feel that's so important. Yeah, I feel that's what's been helping me.
Nice. Who would you call successful, and how would you define success?
I feel like to me, success is knowing that the purpose that I set for myself through the career path that I'm doing, when I can see that it has made a positive impact in someone's life. And again, this is a lifelong journey. And it's honestly such a humbling experience for me whenever, after a performance, for example, people would come up to me, they'd be like, oh my gosh, your story inspired me. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you for making me like feel seen and heard, and to remind me that I'm not alone in this journey. It's really such a fulfilling moment, which further reinforces why I'm doing what I'm doing. What I do within music goes beyond the love that I have for music. I really want to make a difference in people's lives and know that despite like different backgrounds and our like unique like journeys and stories and stuff, there's still that common ground. And that's something that I want to continue emphasizing within my career. Yeah. And even beyond my career too, like both my personal and professional life.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that comes to mind that maybe encompasses that definition of success?
Let's see. Anyone, right?
Yeah, anyone.
I want to say on the top of my head, Demi Lovato. Demi has always been vocal with the mental health issues, and she's been such an advocate, a strong mental health advocate, and also part of the LGBTQ family as well. She's definitely someone that I look up to in that sense.
I like it. Is there? Oh, sorry. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try, or what would you be doing now? I saw obviously like singing and everything like that, but is there anything else that comes to mind?
I wouldn't call it fail, but I do have future plans. Obviously, I'm gonna maximize with the time that I have here on this earth. And again, tomorrow's never promised. So you want to live each and every single day as if it were your last, right? Live like there's no tomorrow. Cliche as it sounds, but here's how I see like my vision board, my mental vision board. So like maybe 60 years down the line, once I feel like I've accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish in the music industry, I'm going to take a step away from the spotlight. Obviously, music will always be a part of me, and like community work, being a public servant. So my goal, and this is a plan that a few of my friends like, no, I don't think my parents know about this yet, but they will eventually. I would really love to eventually open up a nonprofit to help serve underrepresented and marginalized communities, emphasis on music therapy. So I'm still incorporating the music element to it. And again, I want to continue to be deeply involved and work alongside community members. Yeah. So that would be like my secondary plan.
Right. Okay.
But it goes contingent to like my my
it's all
current
connected
plan.
and
Yeah, exactly.
related. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? Time, money, energy, etc.
Time. For many years, like it's all like in my head, it was always, hustle, 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 like, and then disconnect yourself from the world. I've definitely learned the hard way. It definitely did a toll on me and those around me. But no matter how busy you are, you can always find time to make time for people that you care about. So I think just being mindful of the usage of time and being able to divvy that up between your passion projects and your career and then your own personal, because you need time to recharge for yourself, right? And then also setting time for your loved ones, for your family and friends. I think that's definitely something that I've learned over the past few years. And because I've now been actively, been putting in more effort to make time for people, I feel like the interpersonal relationships that I have with people have grown stronger because of it. Yeah. I'm still working my ass off. I'm sorry if I wasn't allowed to say that.
Good.
Yeah. I'm still working extremely hard on my dreams and my aspirations and my career and all these things that I have going on in my life. But also to make time for people as well, because there are people out there who want to be there for you and want to make time for you too. So
I like it. Yeah. All right, last two. Favorite recent purchase under $50 to $100 that has impacted your life the most in the last 6 months? It's a consumerism question. Anything you bought?
6 months?
Any time period, but like a recent purchase, not too expensive, that you're like, oh, I love that I bought this.
What's the price limit? The price tag?
I would say $50 to $100 tops.
I don't know if there's anything within that price range though.
Oh, more? You think
a little bit more? Yeah. But definitely more than 6 months ago.
For sure.
Yeah, I think a year, maybe a little less than a year. Okay. Well, I upgraded my studio mic.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It sounds much better now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm glad. You got to continue investing in yourself, especially in this industry. So yeah, I was quite excited about that purchase.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Last one. Favorite books, movies, videos, articles, media that you share or recommend the most?
I'm not much of a book person, though I probably should.
Any media. It doesn't fine. It could be songs, it could be anime, it could be anything. That you're like, I think you should, here, check this out. It's great.
I think...
Besides your own music. We all want to do that.
I think Mariah Carey is slept on. So y'all should not sleep on her and actually give her more close attention. Obviously, like, everyone knows who she is, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like, in this day and age, like, obviously, there's other artists now that, that the label, want to prioritize. Yeah. Like, I understand that. You can't forget about the legends who paved the way too, right?
Of course.
Now, obviously, when you think of Mariah Carey, you think of the greatest hits, like, Christmas is coming up, so all I want for Christmas is you. But Mariah is more than that. Right? And, because, like, I'm one of her, like, she's one of my biggest vocal influences, and, like, I'm a huge fan of hers. I definitely think y'all should have an open mind and really take the time to hear her music. Her lyrics beyond compare, honestly. It's like AP Lit status. And just her story. And I know she has a reputation of being a diva, whatever, but if you actually take the time out to do research, it's all just a character.
Right.
Yeah, it's an alter ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you actually, if you read her book, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, that
thank you
nails it right
there. Thank you. I was about to say, well, one, I'm also a huge Mariah fan because my mom.
Oh, okay.
My mom's biggest. They're the same age, I think, but then I grew up on Mariah Carey, but also I read her book. Amazing. Shout out to my own book summary website. I read it. It's a great book. Definitely, everyone check it out. MarloYonacruz.com or just get the book. It's fine.
Wow, I am very happy to hear this.
Yeah, that was a great book.
I feel like oftentimes it was New York Times bestseller. I think she's oftentimes misunderstood, and she's gone through a lot, and still is. So I think reading that book really helped bring things into perspective. And I've always been, like, supportive with her and all that she's done. But again, to those who don't really follow her or have these perceptions about her, I think she give it a read.
Yeah, she's a pioneer. So definitely I agree with you. Slept on.
Yay!
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right, let's wrap it up. I know we're a little bit over time, but so I like notes. It's not your fault. I like to always end with gratitude, something I also learned from my mom. So theoneDNA, what are you grateful for?
I'm just grateful for life. That every day I get to wake up and do what I love, to be surrounded by great people, whether it be my family or my close friends. We all push each other to be the best version of ourselves. We all love and care for each other. And it's something that I will never take for granted. And yeah, just to make every second count. Yeah. And on that note, I just want to say thank you, JR, for this opportunity. It's so nice to reconnect with you again in this way. And thank you for having me on this podcast.
Nice. Thank you. The feeling's mutual.
Thank you.
Any final ask or takeaways? Any final ask from the audience, aside from following you and everything on that, or any final takeaways you'd like them to get from our conversation?
Sure. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Chase your dreams. You only live once. Go get them, Tiger.
God,
that was so gross.
Perfect. It was all we need to hear. Great. So where can we find you? I know I have all your links. It'll be in the show notes, but where can we find you if people want to connect?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram, TikTok at theoneDNA, theoneDNA. I'm also on YouTube. I have like music videos on there. I have exciting things coming in the very near future. Well, this airs in December, right?
Yes, it'll be December.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, so I have
out by then.
I have exciting things coming up. So if you want to follow me and be a part of that journey, you know where to find me on all socials. And I look forward to seeing you both on and offline. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you again, theoneDNA, for being here. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. It was a great conversation. And I know that my audience will also enjoy it as well when they listen to this. So just to wrap it up, so thank you guys again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, as he said, a reminder to always be kind to others, especially yourself, and that you can always learn something from someone if you just take the time to listen. So thank you.
Yes.